According to new research from Amazon Ads and Skift, 97% of travelers will take a leisure trip in the next year. These customers are looking for more than a deal. They're looking for a new experience. Travelers discover destinations through entertainment, recommendations, and everyday moments, with 1 in 4 finding their next destination while streaming shows and movies. That's where Amazon Ads comes in. Amazon Ads Solutions empowers advertisers to engage travelers across Prime Video, Twitch, and shopping channels with personalized messaging that inspires and converts. Ready to transform your travel marketing? Visit advertising.amazon.com to learn more.
I'm Dr. Brittany Conners, and you're listening to Sweet Success.
You've just checked in to Sweet Success. Join me, Katie Cline, for exclusive conversations with hotel executives, hospitality leaders, and industry innovators. Together, we'll uncover the strategies and techniques these masters of hospitality relentlessly refine. Whether you're already in the industry or just starting out, tune in every week to unlock the secret to your sweet success. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Sweet Success. I'm your host, Katie Cline, and today I'm excited to welcome Dr. Brittany Conners to the show. As the founder of Optimistic Theory, Dr. Brittany pioneered in-home silent retreats and teaches that silence can be secured, protected, and placed strategically in our lives, yes, even during this hectic holiday season. Dr. Brittany is here today to share practical, guilt-free ways to build quiet into even the busiest of weeks, how to set boundaries, calm the noise, manage stress, and use silence as a tool for clarity and capacity. Dr. Brittany, thank you so much for being here today.
You are so welcome. It's so good to see you, Katie.
It's so good to see you too. We obviously met at the Level Up Your Listing Summit. You were leading a silent retreat for the attendees. So just great to be back together again.
Absolutely. It's a joy. And of course, I love your fashion and your hats.
Oh, thank you very kindly. I appreciate that always. Yeah. So obviously I know a little bit about your story, but just give us a bit of background on you. I know you're a trained occupational therapist. You started focusing on rest culture and silent retreats after experiencing a difficult time in your own family.
Yes. So it all was inspired by my dad, whose birthday is today. He's turning 66. So really grateful. Want to shout out my dad, Kenny. But yeah, back in 2019, my dad had multiple strokes, and as an occupational therapist, super trained and ready, for that. As a daughter, it still is overwhelming to see your parent lose function, lose their ability to do everyday things. And so my siblings and I wanted to make sure that we could care for our father and take care of ourselves. And one day, while we were doing a bit of a shift exchange, I just decided hey, I need a break, but I can't leave. I'm originally from St. Louis. And so at the time, I was like, well, I can't go out of town. I can't go to Bali to that retreat. What can I do? And so I found an article and followed it about how to do a silent retreat at home. Ended up spending 8 hours of in silence that day. And it was the best day I had in a long time. So from that experience, I was like, well, if this was beneficial for me, I'm wondering who else this could support. And that's how it took off back in 2019. And really excited to be celebrating 7 years of business this coming January.
Wow. Congratulations. And, first of all, going back to your dad, I really resonate with what you said. As a trained professional, you had seen this many times before, but it was very different for you when it was your father that it was happening to.
Absolutely. The emotions, having to be the first responder in a sense and manage not only him, but me, knowing that my sisters have kids, they're married. So trying to find the trade-offs with everyone, communication, being the liaison with the healthcare team, it's exhausting. Even when you give your best efforts to take care of yourself and do self-care, I knew it needed to switch to more of community care. And how do we collective talk about taking rest, taking breaks, and enjoying silence to fuel us to be able to, really walk this journey out.
I feel that so deeply. My mom has Alzheimer's, and she was home for about six to 8 years or so before we inevitably had to move her into a nursing home. Okay. And, I think especially with this episode airing right around the holidays, everyone is dealing with whatever is happening in their own lives. That I think is the blessing when we go through these really challenging things. Is I remember driving to see my mom and thinking, does everyone in the cars around me know that I'm having the worst day ever? That today is the day I have to move my mom into a nursing home. And then shifting that perspective and thinking, what's going on in everybody else's cars too? So I'm so excited to have you here because, like you said, Instagram might tell us, well, the solution to all those big, scary feelings that we're having is to hop on a plane and go to Bali and to do the eat, pray, love moment, which, yes, that would be lovely. And I'm sure that would help. But for whatever reason, if we can't, you were able to do it right at home. You said 8 hours was the first time that you did it. So what did that first 8 hours look like?
Woo! Yes. So that first 8 hours looked at like me honestly trying to slow my brain down. I mean, the thoughts were flying. I was thinking of all the things I could have been doing, should have been doing. It looked like me finally getting the first chance to take deep breaths. I had my water bottle. I was like literally on the side of my bed, trying to hear myself breathe, feel myself drink the water, let the water flow through my body. It was a lot of like trial and error, but I would say like after the first half, oh, it was my favorite. I did not want it to end by the end because I felt so off the hook for everything. I didn't feel the weight of expectation. I didn't feel any pressure. I really did feel rejuvenated. I think I also did some journaling about how I was feeling. There was a lot of tears because, again, we're thinking about our parents, these folks who have raised us. We absolutely love them and want to see them have the best quality of life. And when you're faced with the reality that that quality is now changed, and what does that look for me and my family? Like a lot of hard realizations in that moment, but it felt like a practice arena for me. And it felt like a good non-judgmental space for myself to just be. And I really am thankful that I allowed myself to struggle through that space.
Yeah. Logistically, what did that look like? You said you were allowed to journal. Like, did you give yourself rules of the road? I would imagine not allowed to watch TV. Are you allowed to listen to music or white noise? Like, what are the, I'm allowed to do this, I'm not allowed to do this? Can you hear my type A coming out? Like, tell me how to do a good job, Dr. Brittany.
Yes, I can hear it and I respect it. And what I will say is that article really freed me from the allouds, right? It really just encouraged me to get in a quiet space, try to unplug from your technology. So yes, I did put my phone on silent, do not disturb. I turned off my notifications for the day. I did turn off my TVs. Like usually I'll have like some lo-fi going on. The article did encourage like, hey, if you had some soft music or, white noise that you could, but I chose not to. I chose to like just get a blanket on the side of my bed in my room. I tried to make sure that everything that could ring, ping, or ding was off. And that's just how it looked for me. So I did really try to stay away. What should I be doing? Because then for me, I would have been questioning like, so what do I do next? And what is the schedule? And I just had to really let it go, which was hard. But that physical environment setup of just as quiet as the natural environment could be. I lived in the city, so I was still hearing the sirens. I was hearing my neighbors, but allowing myself to retreat within was the goal for that day.
And were you sitting? Were you standing? Were you allowed to go for walks? What if the doorbell rang and an Amazon package came? Could you not speak to him? Like what were the rules?
Yes. So, okay, I did a combo of sitting and laying. I did pace a bit through my apartment. Like when I needed to move, I allowed myself to like do some yoga poses I could remember because I'm not like a big yoga girly, but I've been to a couple classes or two. So I tried to do what I remembered. I paced. I'm trying to think, did anybody come to the door? I think my rule was if they did, I just was like silently gesturing. I tried my best, like absolutely not to talk. I didn't answer any phone calls. So those were the rules, just like as quiet as it could be, as I could in my control. I just allowed it to be that. And if somebody talked to me, I acknowledged them, but I just tried to signal that I would not be speaking back.
And sometimes it's really hard for me to justify putting the phone down because I'm always worried about an emergency. So, especially with what was going on with your dad at the time, how did you give yourself the confidence to say, I'm not going to miss like a really crucial phone call?
Great question. So what I did the day before was that I put everybody on notice. I put my brother, both my sisters, and my dad as well. I said, hey, Dad, this is what's going to be happening. I'm going to try this tomorrow. I told my mom. I tried to tell my friends. I was in the group chats. Like if there were any emails that I could send before and then put a reminder on, I tried to do as much as I could the day before to really set that tone and expectation for everyone else. And then I let them know if there was a state of emergency, I was like, you need to call me exactly like 2 times and send a text. And that's how I'm gonna know I need to like break this. If it's not that, I'm not gonna answer.
Right. Okay. I really like that, being like really fixed about your expectations up front. So that was your very first dipping the toe in the water into silent retreats. Obviously, it sounds like you had an incredible experience. What were some of the realizations that came out of that 8 hours? And then how did you take what you had personally done, combine it with your background in occupational therapy, and then bring this to, I know you do larger corporate retreats or you do for personal people at home. Like what was that evolution there?
Oh, beautiful word, because that's exactly what it's been. Starting from the front of it, I think what I really tried to do was have the realization that a lot of my perception of time was belief. So I believed that I didn't have time to stop, or I believed that to be successful, I needed to be at these events, or I believed that to show my love or my gratitude for something that I had to show up in person a certain way every time. And I realized that that just wasn't true. It was out of habit. It was out of either personal expectation or things that I maybe had seen modeled by my family or friends or like my work environments. And it really was a full stop that like, it's not true. It's just a belief. So if I believe that I can take time to slow down, then it can be possible. And it also was the realization of I have to schedule it. It's not just going to happen. And I have to communicate about it. So the feeling of missing out, not being invited to things, missing something that my dad needed, I realized that with more planning up front, I could counter some of those things. And what allowed me to do was using my ability to ask for help. So looking at asking for help as a new skill that I could use. I recently heard somebody say that like delegation is a trust building tool. I had never thought about it like that, but it gave me the realization that even though I'm a little sister, you know, I'm the youngest of my parents' children, that I still can be a leader and I have a voice. So it did feel strange telling people that were older than me, because at the time, like I was in my mid-20s. It did feel strange to have to tell a 50, 60-year-old or my siblings who are in their 30s and 40s what to do, but I had to get real comfortable with that real fast, or my life was going to be hectic when it didn't need to be, just so I could make other people happy. That's the realization that came from that. And so when I realized that other people through conversation were having very similar struggles as me with like the communication, actually blocking the time, I had to create a framework. So I started doing a goals format, which is GOALS. So I never go anywhere without gratitude and optimism. We know in those times where things are changing for our families, there are tough times, you need something that's going to help you keep going. So what can I look forward to? What am I grateful for? What's going well right now? So I never go anywhere without that. Then the activity, the A, is the silence for, you know, however I could muster. If I had a goal, say, okay, I did 1 hour today, I'm going to do an hour and a half. Then it's the L and the S with the learning and the sharing. So that's really the ability to reflect in that learning portion, what came up for me. And then if I could tell a friend, if I could tell my dad how I was feeling, I made it a point to communicate what it was like and what it took for me to actually take a break and enjoy that silence. And what is something that maybe we could try together. That invitation is what makes the pressure come down, because it's like, no, I'm not incompetent. I am still worthy even when I need a break. And like, how can we do more of that together to where no one feels like they have to go in a corner and get themselves together, but we can pick a new activity and do that together. If we're just sitting here reading a book, if we're sitting here and we're just enjoying the presence of each other, what are more of those things that we can co-create? And so from that, that's where I took it to, okay, what would this look like in a business or an organization? What does this look like for a family? I'm currently single. I have no kids. So my friends would be looking at me like, well, you can do that. You have time. Again, that's a belief. You also have time. We have the same 24 hours. It might look different, but you can look at your schedule and your family routine and cadence and say, you know what? This is like the one time a week where maybe we're all at home. There are no games. There are no business meetings, or I want to put that there and we're going to practice together trying to attain that. So that's the evolution of something that was very personal, creating a framework and then bringing it to all of these various sectors to where it made sense and it actually worked for people.
You just blew my mind in so many ways. I also kind of feel like my therapist sent you to talk to me. Everything you were just saying about, the beliefs of like, well, I need to be doing this, or I need to be working harder. I don't have the time to take rest. Building it into your day, being able to communicate that it's important to you. And I want to go back to the goals framework because I think that's such a succinct way of reminding yourself what's important along the way. But one thing you had mentioned was about communicating it to your family, who largely are older than you. What was the response when you started to say things like, I need to prioritize silence and I need to prioritize rest? I would imagine maybe some of the older generation, laughed at that or thought it was ridiculous. Or like you said, you don't have a family. What do you need quiet for? Like, did you have any naysayers come out?
Yes, Katie. Yeah, absolutely. Everything you just described, I've experienced it, from anger, confusion, frustration, almost like it almost felt elitist at some point. Like, oh no, it's a privilege for you to be able to do. Oh, I got all of that. My parents, they are in the generation where they just didn't get it. Oh, they saw people work, 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 work. And that's all you did was work, work, work. Right. I would say like generations under was more so like, okay, we're kind of jealous. We wish we could live that life, but good for you. There are a few people that honestly, it made them stop in their tracks because I became a mirror to them. Like, man, I never stop. And I feel bad about that, but I still don't know how. How are you doing it? It for some people, it
That's
was
where
like,
I am right now. I feel like I'm like, okay, I hear you now. Teach me your ways.
It was an immediate raised hand. And I love those moments because, again, that's an invitation. But yeah, the naysayers were the hardest because it started to feel like a question of, do I love you or not? Or are you still going to love me when I prioritize me? Are we going to get to a point where you can be okay that I'm not going to answer that call or I'm not going to show up? And it was hard. I did cry about that. I was really scared about hurting, damaging relationships, but there was an initial shock. And then it became like, oh, but you're healthy. You get up and you run. You have energy. Now I think there's something to this. Now I would like for you to tell me more, or I can respect that you do this. And like, I think one of my favorite instances was my mom, because she was the oldest of 10 and her mother was really sick when she was young and they were only 13 years apart. So my mom was really like a second mom in her household. And so it makes me emotional even today because now my mom can relax. That is something she could not do. I think about all the things she taught me, all the things she modeled. I never saw her model rest. And it's not her fault. But because of the generation that she came from, she never saw it. And so now that's something we can do together. And I'm hoping that in the future, if I ever have kids, that I can model that for my family. So yeah, I got the range of emotions, but now it's like, oh no, don't call Brittany. She's not going to, they're telling other people for me. They're protecting my time because they know how valuable and impactful it was for me, but it's also trickled to them. And now they have their own time and space where they do the same thing in their own way.
Wow. Yeah, this is. I'm kind of debating about sharing something because it's quite personal. But
Can you?
I'm very similar. That is what I was, what I saw when I was growing up as well. Was that kind of real incredible work ethic. And I'm so grateful for that because that's where mine comes from.
Yep.
But I have a real hard time slowing down, stopping, prioritizing myself. Like everything you said about putting your needs first or asking for help, very difficult things to do. And when I had my second child, a couple of months back, that was the first time I really allowed myself for like a week or two. It wasn't even as long as it probably should have been, to be like, I'm doing nothing else aside from caring for this child and watching television. Like that is all I am doing during this time. And you have this like real emotional wave that comes from all the hormones and everything. And because I wasn't showing up and taking care of my dad, my sister, the way that I always do we're talking like 5 days. I had a really challenging conversation with my dad where he actually called me selfish. And in that moment was this kind of like, wow, like I have to take care of me and I have to prioritize me because if I don't, no one else will. So I think what you're sharing here today, particularly around the holidays where people are going into tricky family dynamics or losses of loved ones or things, Christmases or Hanukkahs or Kwanzas that don't look the way that they used to look.
Yes.
You to be here to teach us that it's not only okay, but we will get to some practical, tactical ways that during this hectic time, we can actually do it is just so powerful.
It is. And can I say something about the selfish comment? Because I received that too. It appears as selfishness when you put the self into the center. And we are normally taught that that is a bad thing. When we don't see it done well, when we don't talk about the work that it takes to even make that possible, it makes sense that it feels and seems and appears selfish. When we get the opportunity to put ourselves and prioritize ourselves in a way that people can see the difference, that's how you know you're doing it well. So for anybody who's watching or listening, when you get these responses, I want you to know that this is very typical. I want you to know that you're on the right track and that it is an affirmation for you to keep going and having these challenging conversations. And invite the people that are maybe calling you or this act selfish, calling them in and helping them find their own times. And then help them see the reframe of how we can come back better. We can have our social batteries recharge. We can actually show up truthfully and not hide in shame or be a wreck and still show up. Because when people only see the outcome, they don't know the process that brought you there. Let them into your process.
Full mic drop, like chills. Like incredible. Wow. Okay. So before we get into how people can start doing that themselves, let's talk a bit about when you work with corporate clients. So, like we said, you had this aha moment, you've applied it to your training. I imagine you started doing different types of retreats. Talk a bit about your offerings to your clients and how that works.
Yes. So my offering to my clients look like embedding myself into annual or staff retreats. They look like team building exercises or new activities for groups to try together. So I'll work with the contact person who knows the group really well in a pre-consultation phase where, I'm asking all the questions. What are the strengths? What are the struggles? What's coming up? What are we preparing for? I want to know who's in the group. Tell me everything, right? And so once we get a better idea of what's needed, who's in the room, and what are the skills that you would like your folks to walk away with, that's when we co-create what happens next. I'll go back, I'll customize it, I'll come back and present the plan. We'll co-edit, co-tweak together. Once we settle on something, we roll it out to the people. After it's out there, we will do like a post-consultation phase where we review what happened, any feedback, what are people wanting to see more of in the culture? So then we talk about policy. Then we talk about how do we incorporate this quarter by quarter, month to month. I've also had a few clients, even within the retreat or the event, have one-to-one time with me. So that's like an add-on package that has been really popular because people want feedback now. Okay. they are raising their hand and they're like, I would like to know everything that I'm doing and what I can do now so I can start immediately because I am under pressure. I do feel terrible. I actually have won all these awards, but behind the scenes, like my life is actually pretty terrible. Like that is what I've seen. So that's the start to finish. And hopefully there is the continuation. Like I just did a staff retreat with the University of Southern California. We're already looking at strategic planning for next year on how to further embed these quarterly pauses for their staff and their faculty. So that's one example of how it can look. So it can look like an actual retreat, consultation, or a workshop at a point in time of your choosing.
You teach that silence expands capacity and it also sparks creativity. Yes. Why do you think silence is so powerful and why do you think we try so hard to avoid it?
Yeah. Silence is powerful because it elicits things from within us. It brings things up to the surface that maybe we're not ready to address. We know it's there and we don't want to address it. Or it feels very scary to be in that space alone because largely we are taught that silence is a very you thing. You need to be in silence. You need to go on retreat. So the power in the silence is that whatever dots that you have wanted to be connected can be connected through letting your mind and your body and your spirit do its own thing. Our bodies are amazing. They know what we need, but when we're constantly suppressing, we're constantly on the move, you don't allow those processes to happen. And so your greatest ideas can come, right? That thing that you've been stuck on for months, even if you gave yourself 15 minutes, you might find more clarity because you were able to let your mind wander and not feel like it needs an agenda, not feel like there's a right or wrong. I think the other power in silence is that you get a chance to experience solitude and quality time with yourself. We love hanging with other people. We don't always love hanging with ourselves. And so changing that to say, I'm cool. People want to hang with me. I want to hang with me. What are the things I like about myself? What are the things that maybe I don't like, but I want to change or I want to challenge my own thinking? Silence gives you the space and the container to safely do that. And when you can look at it as, this is not a threat to me, but this is how I can transition. This is how I can thrive. And this is how I can connect better to myself. It can be a very expansive time.
For someone who's listening who said, this all sounds great, but practically, tactically, how do I do it? You just referenced, as little as 15 minutes, for example. What would you say is a beginner-friendly way, a non-intimidating way that they could get started?
Love that word, non-intimidating. 2 minutes. Give yourself 2 minutes of silence right where you are. You're in your car, you're at your desk. You need to take a walk. 2 minutes of silence is better for your brain than even your favorite song. So maybe instead of putting on that podcast, instead of putting on that song, try 2 minutes. 15 minutes of silence is where you can begin to self-regulate. So again, right where you are, even if your environment is not quiet, and most times it won't be, and that's okay, take that 15 minutes to begin to feel what self-regulation looks like. Now, the final stage of, and I'll say this is like my 2-15-2 method, the final 2 is 2 hours. So if you can look at your calendar, look at your schedule today, find a 2-hour block. At 2 hours, your brain, there has been research and evidence that shows that at 2 hours, your brain begins to regenerate cells. So it can be a very regenerative practice if you can identify a 2-hour block of time. If you're having trouble finding that block, pull in a friend, pull in your spouse, let somebody else look at your calendar because maybe they can see things that you cannot see or that may be scary to see. You're so in your routine, you're on autopilot. Let somebody disrupt that and help you find an opportunity to use that time.
And like you said, this could be being quiet, it could be journaling, it can be sitting, it can be laying. There's really no hard fixed rules. It's just about the quiet.
It's just about the quiet. Now, I do have a definition that might be helpful for everyone who is listening and watching. So here's how I define rest, and this is how it ties back to occupational therapy. Rest is an activity that can be planned, that can be implemented and improved. It is in what we call our scope of practice, like the framework of, resting, sleeping is different. But if you have instrumental activities of daily living, the framework says that rest, you can think about it in 4 ways. 1, it's personal. So any activity that is personal to you. 2, it's quiet and effortless. 3, it can be done alone or in a group. And 4, it helps support your overall doing in life. So whatever activities fall in that kind of category of 4 things, that's how you can define rest and begin to choose, discover, and identify activities that you can do in whatever silent time that you set aside for yourself.
That's super helpful. That's a really nice way to give a definition without giving a prescription.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We talked a lot about this with, myself, yourself, other people feeling really guilty taking the time to do that. Right away when you say 2 hours, I think, oh my gosh, all the to-do list things that I could do in 2 hours, like I couldn't possibly. How do we start to dismantle that guilt?
Yeah, I think the very first step in dismantling guilt is acknowledging that it's okay to feel guilty. This is something new that you're going to be doing. You already know and are aware of all the things you could be doing. So that guilt is natural.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that's very first. The second thing, when you realize that it's natural and you'd like to do something different, is start to acknowledge to yourself how you deserve it, why it's an activity that will fuel all the other things. And then I think the third important step is beginning to communicate with those that you trust, that you love. If you have like your kind of emergency contact people or those people that you really rely on, talk with them about those feelings, talk with them about what you would want to see for yourself, and then ask them to hold you accountable and join you. Like, hey, can we just go on a silent walk next week? Can you just come over here and sit with me? I'm trying to feel comfortable and I need a little help with that. I think those are the 3 things with guilt specifically that I see help my clients is the natural ability of it. It's just a natural emotion. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to feel bad about it. And it will take you some time to not feel as guilty. There are still times that I've been doing this for years now and I still feel guilt. But I've also come up with ways to combat those feelings and to replace them with all the things that my silence or my quiet time has allowed me to do. It has allowed me to run a successful business and I have not experienced burnout. It has allowed me to be a better daughter, friend. It has made me a better person. It has grown my capacity. So in this holiday season, especially when somebody took that parking spot, somebody grabbed the last toy. Somebody ran out of something we really wanted. I can breathe and I can be okay. Now, if I don't have that capacity, I need everybody to duck, okay? Because it feels some natural feelings of anger and sadness because, again, we are trying to show up for ourselves and other people in extraordinary ways. And silence is a reminder that simple everyday things are also extraordinary. And we should be able to celebrate those things too.
I love what you just said about that really balancing you and tempering you. And I think for the fellow parents listening, to me, that almost feels like a real permission slip to do this for myself because it's like, oh, well, my kids will benefit from me being much more even and calm and not snapping when my daughter hits my son in the head with her doll for the 4th time, How do you think this practice, you had alluded to this earlier, how can parents bring this into the home, not just in the way of like me as mom, I'm going to do this for myself from time to time, but how can I model this for my kids and how can I maybe even bring them in on some silent practices? Do you recommend that?
Yes, I do. And I love this for parents because 1, you all get some time, much needed time to yourselves. So either creating that schedule, right? And then saying, hey, this is mommy's time or this is dad's time. What does our time look like? And having your kids have a say in what that is and picking the day and picking the time, of course, letting them be decision makers early so that they can understand that their voices are important in all the things because they might be into some quiet things and they want more time to do that as well. I think one of my favorite things when families come together is that new traditions are made, new rituals are made. So now if we're on the family vacation or we're traveling to someone's house, Now there's like a built-in day where everybody's in silence or resting, and we all feel good because we're all doing it. I think one of my favorite clients was a mom who started taking 15 minutes for herself, and her kids were like 3 and 4. And she would do it like every Saturday morning, to the point where when we would be on camera, like I'd be on Zoom with her, you would just see her little daughter come, like lay her head on her shoulder, and the pets would come, the puppies would come, and just, it's the magic and the power of seeing it. Like you said, the permission slip. Now everybody is coming, and we have that opportunity. So I think those very concrete strategies of communicating, setting the time, getting creative, making it fun. I know some families are more competitive. So like, let's throw that competitive edge of like, okay, whoever touches their phone first, we could do something like that, but making it really personal to your family, your home, your space, and making it fun. That would be my suggestion, not making it such a legalistic thing or a punishment thing, but how do we encourage each other to do just a minute more, just another day where instead of packing the calendar, we start doing some subtraction. So that's another tangible strategy of, again, having your family maybe calendar visible and say, okay, let's take a look. What can we take off? Everybody take off a thing, or what's the one thing we would vote on and take off together? Right? We got another invite. We got 3 invites this weekend. Okay. We would usually go to all 3 of them. How about this week? We only go to 2. And maybe we still send that gift, or we see those folks another time, but really coming together and making those decisions together.
I had an aha moment recently that parenting is really just branding, because I would say to my daughter, like when she got hurt, I would be like, let me give you some mommy magic. And I'd give her kisses or whatever. And the other day something happened, and she turned to me and she goes, I think I just need some mommy magic. And I was like, this is all just a branding exercise. So I love what you're saying about putting fun in it, putting traditions into it. And also with the client that you referenced, what she is modeling for her children is it's okay to take time for yourself. It's okay to have quiet. Whereas what you and I were saying is very different from potentially what us and other people have been modeled. So again, giving ourselves the permission to say, yes, this might be for us and it might feel indulgent, God forbid, but actually look at what it's also doing for our family.
God forbid we experience some pleasure and some relaxation, right? But yeah, I love the mommy magic, coming up with those phrases, the names, like really like going all in on it, because then there's a callback. It's very clear that we need some mommy magic. Maybe mommy needs a mommy moment. Okay, what is your moment going to be called? I love
it. Technology makes noise even louder, especially at the holiday season. What healthy boundaries do you recommend around devices?
Yes, so definitely device-free meals. That's a big one. We have a fork in one hand, a phone in the other, or the phone is on the table. We're doing what's called phubbing. So it's like when you're talking to somebody, but you're not looking at them. So making sure, like, again, this can be fun, but having a basket, everybody put your phone in a basket, or everybody just keep it away, keep it tucked away. There have been some moments where, for me too, even your wearables. So I know we have the rings and we have the watches, like take it off. If there's a moment where you can just kind of strip down your technology, also do that. Notifications are a big one. So whether that's completely turning off all of the notifications or just adjusting them, or don't have to go big so fast, but like, hey, if I'm on Instagram, let me just turn those off or mute them for a couple hours. Usually on their phones, you have the setting for anywhere from a couple minutes to a couple hours. So utilizing those. I think another thing is just understanding, like during the season too, when you're shopping, please take breaks. You will scroll on your phone all day and then wonder why your back, your neck, your eyes hurt. So sometimes to look at like, okay, if I'm going to shop specifically, or I'm going to be looking at these venues or these activities specifically, set a time to do that and then put your phone aside. So even if you can go like pound for pound, I looked for 30 minutes, let me take a 30-minute break away from my laptop or my phone. So going through those notifications, making sure you're scheduling time away, and then scheduling time to be present. So whether that those are your meals, or those are your rituals. Those are the times where like we need to have a conversation. We really need to like get the game plan together, making sure that you identify the times where you absolutely want to be as present as you can. Are we going to allow like recording or not? Like it is really tempting to put everything on the camera, right?
Mhm.
Are we going to have some camera free moments? Are we
Mhm.
going to have some content free moments? Or can we take the content and not edit it until later? That's a big one because you want to capture it in real time, but also maybe breaking that process up. I capture now, I'll edit later.
Financial stress is something that's also very real, especially during the holiday season. How do you think people can stay grounded when money anxiety spikes?
This is a good one. People can stay grounded by getting some quality time by themselves and remember what's truly important. What are the things that I truly want to do and need to do? And what are the things that I feel like I just have to do? Right? I think acknowledging that money anxiety is real, but also starting to identify all the other ways that I can show up, right? Whether that's physically, virtually, whether that I show up in a DoorDash gift card or delivery. How can I get creative about how I can show up? And especially making sure to separate that this money does not equate how I feel about these people. Right? What are some new ways that I can share my love, my joy, my gratitude that aren't monetary? What are my goals right now? Do I feel comfortable sharing those goals? Like I just had a cousin who we were talking about the holiday season, and she realized that one of her girls had tuition that was due and it was much more than she anticipated. She pulled us in the group chat and just said, hey, y'all, I want to go to do this thing, but I can't. What are my options? Can I pay somebody? Or I might have to sit this one out. So again, I know there's so much, I'm going back to that, but the power of that communication to yourself and other people about what are your goals, what you can do and what you cannot do. And where am I okay missing? I want to identify the things that I absolutely want to be a part of and then have the joy of missing out on maybe everything else.
And as we think about heading into the new year, 2026, which is crazy. I can't believe 2026 is sounds like a science fiction movie.
Right.
You have talked a lot about building capacity rather than chasing the kind of new year, new me mentality that we hear every New Year's season. What do you mean by that? Building capacity?
Yes. So building capacity is an ongoing effort, right? There is a lot of great research in science around new beginnings and fresh starts. That's why we all feel the dopamine hit of like new year, new me. That's real. What fizzles though over time is our motivation, because then real life starts to kick back in. The responsibilities are still there. Maybe they have grown. And so building capacity means that we are expanding this beyond maybe Q1 or beyond January and February. So it looks like, what is my long-term plan? And what are my long-term actions to sustain this feeling, either that I'm feeling currently or to sustain and make room for the feelings that I want to feel across. And so that's how I show up, my energy, that's the activities that I want to do. The newness of the year means I have a clean slate, right? And I have the opportunity to determine myself in a new way. So what are the things that I want to determine that I'm a person who now does this thing. And then how do I make sure I do that from day to day, month to month, week to week, year to year? That's what we talk about with this building capacity of looking at, where are all my skills? Where do they need to be? Where are my environments? Are they serving me? My friendships, right? The things that I'm doing, what's taking my time? There's been a lot of talk lately about time poverty and just almost feeling like you never have enough time. Building capacity helps us take a step back, and it helps us look at, well, where do I want to expand time? Where do I want to collapse time? Where do I want my time to be well spent? And maybe I've been wasting time. So it's really like a way to recoup and start to like make space for all the things you want, instead of this approach to constantly avoid what you don't want.
So if you were encouraging listeners or viewers to put one New Year's resolution on their list, what would it be?
Ooh, the one thing I would say is to find one time a week to either do nothing or do less. I will let you pick. But identifying that time, communicating that time, and then using that time, whether it's the 15 minutes, the 2 hours, a day, a half day, whatever makes sense for you, please do it, communicate about it, and practice it from week to week and see how it grows.
Dr. Brittany, I want to ask you the last 3 questions that I ask every guest. And the first is, what was the best hospitality experience you've ever had?
The best hospitality experience I've ever had was in Denver, Colorado, with an Airbnb host. Her name is Amy, and it was like a husband-wife duo, Amy and Doug. They thought of everything. They sent me a survey. They found out everything I liked and what I didn't like.
They sent you a survey before you arrived?
Yes, Katie.
Wow. Wow.
They sent me
and Doug. Wow.
Yes, they sent me, and it was quick, but they sent me a survey just asking like, what did I want to do while I was here? What was my purpose? What do I like? What am I hoping to experience? So when I got there, they had like a basket like full of my favorite things. They already had recommendations of things I wanted to do, people that I wanted to meet even, because they knew that I was an entrepreneur. Amazing. They also had the unit cleaned every 2 weeks, and I had never experienced that, like having a professional cleaner come. And I mean, immaculate. It was like a personal reset every 2 weeks. So hands down, my best experience.
That's great. And on the flip side of that, what was the worst hospitality experience you've ever had?
Oh, another Airbnb in Atlanta, Georgia. Will not name names, but because I didn't even stay, Katie, I left. It was not as listed. I walked in, and first of all, it was listed as like a full unit that I would have to myself. There was indeed another unit connected with other people. You could tell it was not clean. There were dead bugs everywhere. I didn't even make it. I called him and was like, you know what? Even if I don't get a refund, I'm not staying here. I will not.
Right. Well, it's funny because so much of what you talked about is all about communication and setting expectations. And the listing set your expectations one way, and then you walked in and it was completely the other.
Upsettingly different.
And final question for you. What does hospitality mean to you? And is there anyone, a person, a brand that you think has truly mastered it?
Ooh. I would say that hospitality to me is taking care of people, being thoughtful of people and making them feel at home. That's what it feels like to me. And because I've been moving around the past 3 years trying to figure out where my new home base is going to be, right now these Airbnb hosts have got it. You know, I know everybody can have a range of experiences, but I've been really fortunate with the hosts that I've had, that they have been very thoughtful. We have become friends. They have made me feel very at home, especially as a young woman traveling by myself. I have felt secured. I have felt like I've had community built around me. And so I just want to shout all of them out. They know who they are. But the Airbnb hosts right now have really shown me what hospitality looks like.
Well, Dr. Brittany, thank you so much for being here today. This conversation has been truly enlightening for me. And I feel actually better prepared to go into the hectic holiday season now. So thank you for that.
Yes. And you know, you can always call me if you need a pep talk.
I will. Thanks again.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. It's time for today's sweet summary, where I break down the key insights and actionable takeaways from today's conversation. I know this was a bit of a departure from our typical interviews, but with the busy holiday season now here, I wanted to bring you a conversation with an expert that encourages you to pause, reflect, and be intentional with how you're spending your most valuable asset, your time. One of the first things Dr. Brittany challenged was the narrative that prioritizing time for ourselves, particularly time we spend doing nothing, is somehow bad, indulgent, irresponsible, or worse, a privilege available only to a select few. She talked about the limiting beliefs we place on ourselves and how we could reframe that thinking. Instead of picturing a week-long silent retreat in the Himalayas as the only solution to life's problems, can we instead find 2 minutes to spend in silence even just once this week? Suddenly, that becomes possible. That becomes accessible. She also encouraged us to set expectations aside. The could have beens or should have beens. When she described her first experience with 8 uninterrupted hours of silence, she said it freed her from what she called the allows, the invisible rules we place on ourselves about what we are and aren't allowed to do or feel. To move away from seeking that A+, the gold star, the pat on the back, to doing something just because it's good for us. So, how do we define rest? Well, according to Dr. Brittany, it should meet these 4 criteria. Number 1, it should be personal. Number 2, it should be quiet and effortless. Number 3, you can do it alone or with others. And finally, number 4, it should support your overall well-being. To Dr. Brittany, hospitality is fundamentally about taking care of people. But how do we do that with consistency, presence, and heart, particularly during one of the busiest and most stressful times of the year? Well, whether we have 2 full hours to set aside or only 2 minutes, we have to begin with taking care of ourselves. And that concludes another episode of Sweet Success. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, rate, and review the show. We all know how important those 5-star reviews are. I also want to say a massive thank you to each and every one of you for tuning in. It means the absolute world to me. And I'd love to hear from you. If you have ideas for future guests, new topics to cover, or even just want to say hi, don't be shy. Message me through our website, sweetsuccesspodcast.com, or on social media @sweetsuccesspodcast. That's sweet like hotel suite. Once again, I'm your host, Katie Cline, and I'm super excited to see you all next week.